So the question is today, is it really worth it? That big price difference between the previous model and the new one. So we'll answer this question today. Today I'm talking about my review of the 2025 Cadillac Escalade. Well, it's the third generation I'm reviewing on the channel. Large SUVs are a little bit our specialty here at the Torq Media channel. We test pretty much all the Yukon, Tahoe, Escalade, Navigator, Expedition, all that. Even myself, I used to own a Yukon Denali. My dad used to own several Expedition, Navigator, Yukon, and all that. Even my sisters own a Tahoe. So we really like those large SUVs. So now we've got the brand new Escalade 2025. I also drove lately the Escalade IQ, the fully electric version of it. So some nice improvement for 2025, but also the price has been increased quite a bit in the last years. So it makes a big difference. So the question is today, is it really worth it? That big price difference between the previous model and the new one. So we'll answer this question today. So the model I was driving is the Cadillac Escalade Platinum Sport 4x4. Speaking about price, in Canada, it starts at $126,000. If you want the long version, the ESV, it starts at $130,000. In the US, it starts at $88,000 and $100. And if you want the ESV version, it's good for $91,100. The model I was driving is good for $175,000, a little bit less than $175,000. If we're adding all the taxes here in Canada, Quebec, we've got a lot of taxes. And also I'm adding the taxes of the luxury taxes we've got here. We've got a special tax over $100,000 cars. So the final number is $216,000. And if there's some tariff on top of that, it's going to be around $260,000. So more than $250,000 for a Cadillac Escalade. And it's not the electric one, and it's not a V. So these taxes are getting out of control, tariff also. So if you're in the US, it makes a little bit more sense to buy an Escalade. There's no tariff. Those Escalade are built in Texas. The price for the model I was driving, it's $125,000. Under hood, it's the same engine we had before, but a few changes in the options. There's no more diesel in 2025, so no more 6-cylinder inline 3-liter diesel Duramax. The only two choices of engines you've got now is the V8 6.2 liter or the V8 6.2 liter supercharged we found under the hood of the V version. Transmission-wise, we've got a 10-speed transmission. Power-wise, this is still good for 420 horsepower and 460 foot-pounds of torque. This engine feels quicker, more responsive, more powerful, and also louder than the previous generations. And even if you compare it with the Yukon, Tahoe, or even a 1500, it feels like this engine's got a little something more than the other ones. And I think this one's got a different tune for give it the Cadillac touch, I could say. And it's not something, I'm making my mind or I feel something special because I'm inside of a Cadillac. I used to own a Sierra 1500 84 with a 6.2. I used to own a Yukon with the 6.2, and this week I'm driving a 2025 Yukon 84 Ultimate, so I'm able to really tell there's a difference, a spatial touch for the Cadillac Escalade. 0 to 60 miles an hour, you can do it in 5.9 seconds. On the road, pretty comfortable. It's an Escalade, but we're rolling on 24 inches wheels. You have to sacrifice a little bit of the comfort for the style and having those big wheels. It's still a comfortable ride, but from my point of view, they could improve it a little bit more to really compete in that range of big SUVs, especially with the Range Rovers and all that. But still, it's a decent handling truck for the size, independent suspension in the front and the back and all that. You've got also the MagnaRide 4.0 and the air suspension. You can adjust that ride height also. You can lower it down, and also you can raise it to do some off-road stuff with your Escalade. If we're looking at the design, I really like the look of the new Escalade. I really like that aggressive front end, the big grille and all that, the big wheels, the 24 and all that. On the side, it's pretty much the same as the last generation. In the back also, but this truck looks really good. I feel it's one of the best looking large SUVs on the market. And it still looks like a big, meaning, muscular SUV. Not like the new Navigator, who feels kind of like soft from my point of view. Especially when you do the sport treatment or the V treatment with that mesh grille in the front. I think it's a good looking truck. But overall, this truck is pretty much the same as before. Same size, same dimension, same engine, same transmission and all that. The big changes is going to be pretty much inside of this truck. Inside of this truck, the first thing you're going to notice is that new curved screen. It's a 55 inches. It starts from one side all the way to the other side. It's a big screen, and you can do a lot of things on that screen. On top of that, you've got another screen below that screen in the metal console. You can adjust a bunch of things with that. You can adjust your climate, your seat, your massage, your pretty much everything. You can even open the glove box. I'm not a big fan of putting everything on a screen. I think a normal button on the glove box works well for me. And putting everything on that little screen, it's just a little bit too complicated from my point of view. I would keep some buttons to make it easier and quicker to deal with. But I feel these days those luxury trucks, they try to be super fancy and remove everything. But I'm not a big fan of putting everything on those screen. But otherwise, everything works well. Everything is clear. We've got a screen in front of the passenger seats. In the US, there's a bunch of options you can do with that screen. There's like YouTube, Hulu, YouTube Kids, and all that. We can see it on the video behind me. But in Canada, there's only HDMI hookup you can do. But in Canada, we only have the HDMI. We have to plug it in. And from my point of view, it's just useless. And even in the rear seats, those screen just with the HDMI, it feels a little bit too complicated for nothing. You have to hook up an old DVD or maybe an Xbox, or having a special USB. I don't know what's the exact hookup you have to put inside of those, or maybe those Fire Stick. I'm not sure how those works, but at the end of the day, most of those screens, they're just for the show. They're not really useful, and most people with this kind of money can afford an iPad or just look at their phone instead of using those screen. Otherwise, there's a bunch of option and technology on this truck. You can open and close the door with the press of a button. Also, when you press on your brake. I was not a big fan of this option. Sometimes when you open the doors, it will open automatically, and it will open wide open. So if there's a car next to you, it's going to detect it. But if you're in the middle of the street, maybe you don't want to open your door completely wide open, but it's going to open it for you. One time, I opened my door and it was really windy, so the wind was pushing on the door. So the truck thought probably I was trying to close my door. So literally, the door was closing on me and forcing with that force of closing on me. So I'm not a big fan of that. Those kind of stuff gonna break also during the winter time and all that. So there's a lot of new option, new technology inside of this Escalade. It's just useless from my point of view, or maybe I'm not fancy enough for the Cadillac way of these days. But otherwise, you've got a pretty decent sound system. You've got an AKG Studio 19 speakers, but there's also two optional sound system also, a 36 speaker and also a 40 speaker, who comes with the executive second row package. I'm going to explain later on what it's exactly, the executive second row package. You've got also standard Super Cruise version number 3. Works pretty well. I thought it was kind of cheap, all the integrate that light on the steering wheel, the stitching and all that, the finished products on the steering wheel. They could do a little bit better than that. Obviously, you still have all the bells and whistles. The other generation of the Escalade used to have, like the night vision, the heads-up display, and all that. Speaking of the interior size, second row is the same as before. Same thing for the last row. You have to use some manual lever to get access to the last row. That's something at Lincoln or maybe even in the Escalade IQ. You have to press a button and it's going to do it for you. So that's kind of basic, especially for an Escalade who costs that amount of price. But still, decent amount of space in the second row and the last row. It's one of those only, luxury SUVs you can fit literally like normal adult in the last row, and it's a true last row, I could say. The Escalade, the Navigator, and the Jeep Grand Wagoneer, I think those three are the only ones who's got decent amount of space in that last row. Looking at the trunk, decent amount of space. Once again, same amount of space. You can lower down the seats with a push of a buttons and all that. It's the same. It's a carry-on from the last generation. Speaking of the executive package, in the second row, you're gonna have massaging seats. You got also those little table, just like you're in first class inside of an airplane. You've got a big console also in the middle. You can adjust your massaging seats and all that, the climate and all this. So these take a lot of space in that second row. Those are options are more made for adults than kids. I think with baby seats and kids, it's more practical not having that metal console, especially when they're trying to get access in the last row without playing with the seats. But if you're planning to carry people mostly adult, that executive package is nice. Going back to the screen in the middle, you also have a little knob you can control your screen with. All those knob and screen takes a lot of place inside of that metal console. It's not as practical as the metal console you'll find inside of a Tahoe or a Yukon, where you can move that metal console and put a big purse or even a bag of McDonald's or something like that. So you have to sacrifice on some space inside of this Escalade. Having this price tag with the Escalade, it's quite expensive. So I'm getting more and more picky with this truck. I used to really like the Escalade, but now it's getting so expensive. I think in just the past few years, this truck in Canada, it's at least $30,000 to $40,000 more than it was before. I don't think all those gadgets are worth that amount of money. And even on this level, even if Cadillac wants to reach another customer base, they want to reach another level of luxury. I think that's the case because they're bringing all those fancy stuff, fancy option you'll find maybe in Range Rover or trucks like that. From my point of view, they're forgetting their real customer base, the ones who used to have a truck, used to have maybe a Tao, maybe having a 1500 Denali or something like that, and they have a little bit more money and they want to have something nice. I think they're losing the simplicity. I don't think they need to raise up the price and raise up the level of the luxury in those trucks. I don't think they need to compete with Range Rover or trying to catch on maybe Bentley or whatever they're trying to do. I think most customer of these trucks, are simple people, but with money. They want to carry some kids inside of it or carry a lot of people. They're using it for a practical sense, towing and, doing road trips and all that. So by removing a lot of simple buttons and simple things, I think it's not the right formula. And even on this level, I always thought, the seats are not really comfortable. I don't have anything against those seats. I really enjoyed them, the ones I had in my Yukon Denali, but they're pretty much the same seats you'll find inside of a 1500 well-equipped or a well-equipped Tao, a well-equipped Yukon. So I think for that amount of price, Cadillac should raise the comfort and having a better seats. And this is what you're gonna find inside of the Escalade IQ. You've got better seats, but they kept those good seats. I call them, they look more like a Range Rover seats for the electrical one. But the reason is, I'm going to come later on with my review of the Escalade IQ. The Escalade IQ is less comfortable on the road than the normal Escalade. But because the suspension is working so hard, because the Escalade IQ is so heavy, it's 10,000 pounds. So they were improving the seats so they could probably match the comfort of the other Escalade. But from my point of view, they should put those Escalade IQ seats inside of the normal version. But that's my opinion. I think for that amount of price, it's so expensive. They should do better than that. Fuel economy wise, I was averaging around 13.5 liters per 100 kilometers. So 17.4 miles per gallon. Not bad, especially on 24s, especially the way that this engine behaves. Obviously, with the diesel back in the last generation, you can do way better than that. But I guess maybe in the US, it was not really successful. Or they're trying to remove the diesel because it doesn't feel luxury enough for the Cadillac brand. So I'm not sure why they remove it, but from my point of view, they should have kept that engine. Towing wise, you're able to tow up to 7,900 pounds. Depending on the configuration, you can tow a little bit more, depending also on the model and also if you go in the Tao and all that. So overall, this truck, a lot of gadgets, a lot of things was kind of funky during my review. Sometimes when I was walking in front of the trunk was opening by itself. I didn't push any buttons and all that. One time I had a bunch of things inside of that trunk. So the trunk opened and everything was falling on the ground. I don't know if it's an option when you're walking nearby, it's gonna open by itself. There's so many options inside of this truck you have to play with. If you want to activate or deactivate. One time inside of a parking lot, it didn't have anything in front of me. I was really driving slowly, but I guess the sensor saw something or there was a kind of a bug inside of the system. So he applied really hard the emergency brake and there was nothing. So that was another kind of funky things happening. during my my review. And also the button was not working on the trunk when it was really cold during my week. We had some snow and some ice, and the button was not working. So there's a lot of things by putting a lot of technology, removing a lot of buttons, removing a lot of simplicity inside of this truck. It's more complicated. On the long run, it's gonna break. For me, as they're playing a little bit too much with trying to catch some competition, and maybe they're not really listening to their core customer base. And with this price, seriously, especially here in Canada, I don't think most customer, and even I've got some feedback from my episode in French. Some people, they're like, I bought 4 Escalade, and I'm not switching for a new one. The new one is too expensive. Even my dad he owns a Yukon. He doesn't want to switch because the new Yukon is too expensive. When you're raising those price, and there's no tariff and all that when I'm talking about this, I'm just talking about MSRP price. It's just crazy. It's just crazy these days. I remember I bought my Yukon Denali for about $85,000, and these days, though, the same truck's gonna be $135,000. It's not the same bracket. It's not the same truck. I know it was 4 years ago, but 4 years ago is not that far. So it's just silly, and I think by raising those price, it's hard for families like mine to afford those large SUVs. Even if I love those SUVs and we need them, the way they're putting all those bells and whistles, even Ford is doing the same thing with the new Expedition. We don't have a normal Expedition, a normal Tahoe, a normal formula of large SUV is going to be affordable for a large family who doesn't want a minivan or a fake 3-row SUVs with a fake 3rd row where there's only leprechauns who can fit there. I think I can see literally the people making those decisions are not truck people or not family people. They're city people who maybe doesn't even drive. And those people are probably spending more on their coffee and, doing city stuff than actually driving trucks with your family and doing road trips and stuff you do with Escalade. I could feel it. All the things I see more and more in these trucks, they need to come back to drawing boards, make it simple, and make a great product for a great price. But these trucks, I think, especially in Canada, maybe in the US, the people still got some money to spend on those trucks, but these trucks going to get really rare, especially in Canada. So let me know in the comments, what do you think about the Escalade? Is it too expensive for your point of view, or it's still a good product and you don't want those ugly buttons? You like all those screens and all those bells and whistles? Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. We're going to see each other on the next podcast.